What's up, guys? How's it going? Today we're going to be reacting to the difference between Division 1, 2 and 3 in college football. Now my basic assumption would just be that 1 is better than 2, 2 is better than 3. 1's the best, 3 is the worst, but there's got to be more to it than that, right? Otherwise there won't be a video on the difference between them. We're going to find out what those differences are today. Let's dive straight into this video. Let's go.
Couch watching the Northern Iowa versus South Dakota State game. And my roommate looks over at me and asks, what division
This
of
video looks a
football
bit
is
blurry,
this?
but
I tell him it's
I am on
Division 1
Chad 8.
FCS. And then he asks, what's the difference between FBS and FCS?
no idea.
I had never really thought about the difference between the two subdivisions.
I've never even heard of
But it
FCS
also
and
got me
FBS.
thinking about the difference between D1, D2, and D3 sports. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it. Embrace the grind. Go and check them out on YouTube.
In this video, I will be going through the different rules for schools to be considered Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. I will not be talking about the NJCAA or the NAIA, so if you want videos
Don't worry
on
about
those
that, mate.
athletic
Let's
divisions,
just start
let
with
me know
1, 2,
below
and 3,
and I'll make a video on them.
FCS, FBS. Let's get
Also,
into that.
let me know what college you root for in the comment section below. Before we get into the rules for the division classifications, I thought we should go over some background information on the 3 different divisions. I want to address a general misconception right off the bat. Many believe, like in high school, these divisions are split due to enrollment at these schools. Although Division 3 schools are much smaller than Division 1 usually due to enrollment, that is not the reason for the split. According to College Raptor, the University of California, Santa Cruz has an enrollment of 19,457 students and they compete at the Division 3 level, while the Air Force Academy has an enrollment of about 4,000 students and competes at the Division 1 level.
Okay, so size
According to
doesn't
the
matter,
NCAA
guys.
website,
Good to
3
know.
divisions were created in 1973. The reason for the divisional split is to align the like-minded campuses in the areas of philosophy, competition, and opportunity.
How much money
There
do
are
you spend?
350 Division 1 schools, 310 Division 2 schools, and 438 Division 3 schools.
What?
The median undergraduate enrollment
Yo, I had no idea there was that many schools. My God, that's a lot of football.
at Division 1 schools
What the
is
hell?
about 8,960 students, and 1 in 23 students are athletes at the school. At the Division 2 level, the median enrollment is 2,428 students, with 1 in 10 students being on the athletic teams. At the Division 3 level, the median enrollment is 1,740 students, with 1 in 6 students being athletes.
1 in
At
6.
the Division 1 level, schools can hand out multi-year cost-to-attend scholarships, with 57% of the athletes receiving athletic aid. At the D2 level, schools can offer partial scholarships, with 60% of athletes receiving athletic aid. While at the Division 3 level, schools cannot offer athletic scholarships, but 80% of all student athletes receive non-athletic financial aid. Some fun facts before we get into the nitty-gritty. Division 1 student athletes graduate at a higher rate than the general student body. Division 2 is the only division that has participating schools in Alaska, Puerto Rico, and Canada, while Division 3's largest school has an enrollment of 25,725 students, with the smallest school having an enrollment of 285 students. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the differences between the 3 divisions of athletics.
My man's been telling us we're going to get into the nitty-gritty for a while now. Come on, let's get into
Justin
it.
Berkman from Prep Scholars wrote a great article about this that I will link in the description below. Typically, Division 1 schools have the most athletic scholarships, largest athletic budget, and biggest student bodies. Although the Ivy League schools are technically Division 1 schools, they do not offer athletic scholarships. To qualify to compete at the Division 1 level, the school must offer 6 sports for men and 8 sports for women,
Okay.
and each gender needs to have a sport in the fall, winter, and spring seasons. Other than football and basketball, Division 1 athletic teams must play 100% of the minimum number of contests against Division 1 opponents. Anything above the minimum number of games has to be 50% against other Division 1 teams. Men's and women's basketball must play all but 2 of their games against D1 opponents, and men's basketball must play 33% of their games at home. There's also a minimum and maximum amount of financial.
So it's not technically down to how good the team is, really. It's more about the size of the school, the facilities of the school, and how much money they spend, which would usually lead to a better team than a D2 team. But there's always a chance, right, that there's a D2 team out there who's technically better than some of the D1 teams. Possibly, right?
Financial aid a Division 1 school can offer. For football, there are 2 subdivisions under the Division 1 level, the FBS and FCS. The FBS, or Football Bowl subdivision, the level you typically think about when it comes to Division 1 football.
Okay.
These are the
Like
Alabamas and Ohio States of the world.
Georgia,
There's a
Michigan.
large amount of money at the FBS level, with coaches making millions of dollars and teams being worth much more. To compete at the FBS level, you must meet a minimum attendance requirement of 15,000 people through a rolling 2-year period. In 2018, the average attendance for an FBS football game was 41,850 people.
41K as
The
an
theory
average
behind
attendance.
the attendance rule is if you can't average 15,000 fans at a game, you probably are not generating enough revenue to compete at the FBS level. The FCS, aka the Football Championship subdivision, is the next highest level of football, and they play in an NCAA-run championship. There's no attendance requirement for these games, but to compare FBS to FCS attendance numbers, the FCS averages about 7,853 fans.
It's still not bad.
Back in 2018. 34,003 fans less than the FBS level average. The Ivy Leagues compete at the FCS level along with North Dakota State, James Madison, Northern Iowa, among others. Next, there is the Division II level.
Is there a college called James Madison? There's a football player, an English football player called James Madison.
At the Division II level, schools' athletic budgets are usually much less than those at the Division I level. Athletes mainly receive partial athletic scholarships, and schools usually compete regionally against teams rather than nationally like the Division I level. D2 schools must sponsor at least 5 sports for men and 5 for women, or 4 for men and 6 for women, with 2 team sports for each gender, with each playing season represented by the gender. At the D2 level, there is a minimum number of participants needed and contests needed to play. Football.
What other college sports is there that are big? So I guess you'd have American football, soccer, basketball, baseball, ice hockey. Is it college ice hockey? Lacrosse. Lacrosse is big in America, right? Let me know what other sports would be down as is athletics. Does that count?
Men's and women's basketball must play at least 50% of their games against D2, FBS, or FCS schools. There's no attendance requirement, but there is a maximum financial aid award for each sport. Finally, there is the Division III. Although D3 schools do not offer athletic scholarships, many D3 athletes receive need-based or academic financial aid. D3 athletics have less practice hours and travel less for their sports. There's more of an emphasis on participating and competing rather than revenue generation. The rules are designed to maintain gender equality and that schools offer a minimum number of opportunities to all athletes. Each D3 school must offer at least 5 sports for men and 5 sports for women, with 2 sport teams for each gender and each playing season represented by each gender. There's no participant or contest minimum at the D3 level.
So another thing I want to know from you guys is if someone's performing very well in D3, are they likely to get scouted by like a D2 college or a D1 college and then like transfer over to that college? Does that happen quite regularly? Also, has anyone from the D3 or Division 3 ever made it like into professional basketball or professional football?
In conclusion, Division I athletics are more focused on revenue generation, with D2 being the middle ground between
It's all about the money.
D3. There's an average of 18 sports at D1 schools, 15 at D2 schools, and 18 at D3 schools. One last little fact that FBS football, Division I basketball, Division I women's gymnastics, and Division I women's volleyball can only offer full scholarships. So there you have it, the difference between Division I, Division II, and Division III athletics. Let me know if I missed anything, and let me...
Wasn't exactly the video I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more about like the difference in players, like what makes the difference in the players. But I guess that's kind of self-explanatory, right? They're just better players. But what is it that makes them better players? That's what I'd like to know as well down in the comments below. Still kind of enjoyed the video. It wasn't the best video we ever reacted to, but we don't check the videos out before we react to them. Otherwise, we're not going to get authentic reactions when we do stumble across an absolute beauty of a video. Please do subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. I'll see you for the next one, guys. Take it easy. Peace.